Alright, so here is the definitive Marvel Rivals hero tier list. We're about a week into Season 1. This is my opinion, for the most part, based on hundreds of hours of gameplay. I've got over 300 hours in the game. I was Eternity Season 0. I was top 500 Season 1 until I went on a little bit of a bender and lost a bunch of games. My opinion on these heroes are largely informed on sort of high level, like top 0.1% gameplay. I suppose some of these heroes are probably stronger or less strong in lower ranks, but this is just my perspective based on the games that I've been playing. So take it with a grain of salt, but I see a lot of tier lists. Some of them are better than others, and I just want to make one myself, okay? So I'm going to start with all of the Strategist heroes. Then I'm going to do the Vanguard heroes, and then we'll do the Duelist heroes. I think S tier is what I would consider like pretty much 100% pick rate from games that I'm playing. Like the best characters in the game. Extremely valuable, like pretty much no-brainer to try to put on your team if it's not banned. A tier being super good, and D tier being awful. I will say, the one thing that I like about this game is that pretty much every hero in this game is viable. I have seen even the worst heroes in the game like dominate in high ranked games, so take it with a grain of salt. So the first character we have is Adam Warlock. I think Adam Warlock is probably A. It's one of the only supports characters that strategist characters that you can climb on, just by way of getting 3 or 4 kills a fight. But his healing is a little bit lacking, and he doesn't have a defensive ultimate, so I'm just going to put him at A. I think he's very strong in a skilled hand. I would even reckon putting him at B is not a bad idea, frankly, but he was pretty meta Season 0. We'll keep him in A for now. Okay, Jeff the Landshark being the second character is pretty funny because this guy is definitely D tier. There are just better supports in the game. There's just no reason to play Jeff other than, heal botting with him, and there are other characters that are better than that. I will say I suspect at some point we'll enter a rush meta, like a serious rush meta with multiple tanks, in which his like speed boost bubbles is probably going to be really strong, but nobody really uses them now, so you pretty much only ever see Jeff as a troll pick. Invisible Woman is the newest character in the game. She is S tier. I actually have been thinking the last couple days Invisible Woman might be the best support in the game. Probably is the best support in the game. She has a really sick defensive ult that does like hundreds of healings per second. It's basically impossible to kill through. She does tons of damage. She has tons of team utility with her pools. People are already really creative with playing her. She has tons of survivability. She lives. She does it all. I mean, she frankly just does it all. So I think she probably needs a significant nerf. Cloak and Dagger, coincidentally, S tier this season. I think last season she was more of an A tier, maybe even B tier in Season 0, but they gave her a couple buffs. Her ult is like 25% better. She does more healing output. She already did a ton of healing output. I think she probably does the most healing output in the game right now. Basically, I'm seeing Cloak and Dagger in every single game. It's just Cloak and Dagger ult after Cloak and Dagger ult after Cloak and Dagger ult. I just think she's super meta. I would almost even put her in A tier, but I feel like she's a must pick. Like, it's almost every single game you're seeing Cloak and Dagger. Her ult is just so strong. It does so much healing. It takes so much space. She's so hard to kill. She's got to be S tier. She's super meta right now. Mantis. Mantis is next. Mantis is a hero that is still super meta. Still has like the highest win rate in the game, like 55% or whatever, apparently. I'm going to put her in A tier. She has a really great defensive ult, which is super meta right now with the triple supports. She does a ton of damage. I think she's very strong still. I think in the hands of a very mechanically talented player, she can be S tier. She can dominate games. She could be 100% pick rate, but she doesn't do as much healing as the other supports that we're talking about that are S tier, and so for that reason alone, I just kind of have to put her in A tier. Luna Snow, my favorite character in the game. I am not a one-trick. I do think Luna Snow is still S tier. Her ult is super good. It's just an Invisible Woman ult, but it's mobile. She does massive amounts of healing. With her shift, she can do massive amounts of damage. She's super mobile. She has skates, so she's faster than most heroes getting back from spawn. She has a great stun. S tier. I mean, just S tier. You're probably starting to notice a trend, okay? A lot of S tier characters are support characters in this game. Loki is a complicated hero because his identity is that he copies other heroes. So I think Loki I would put in B tier. He doesn't do that much healing or damage by himself, although if you are able to stack multiple clones shooting the same person, he does actually do quite a bit of damage, quite a bit of healing. It's conditional though, and he doesn't really have a defensive ult. The way I see most Lokis play is they use his ult to copy a Luna, to copy a Cloak, to copy an Invisible Woman, to use their defensive ult. It can have huge impact in games. Very, very interesting hero, but you know, if you're gonna just use his ult to copy a Luna ult, you might as well play Luna. I gotta put Rocket in C tier. I'm a big Rocket hater. His heals are very slow and very low skill, and you don't really have any abilities in your kit that saves people. The best part of his kit is his res, and don't get me wrong, his res is very valuable if you have a res beacon set up. He does a lot of healing over time, but it's very slow healing. And in a game where like you really, really, really need like the heavy heals and heal botting, especially on your tank players, he's just nowhere near as valuable as like the top 5 supports in this game. He just doesn't do burst, and he doesn't have any like stun or anything. He's basically just this game's Mercy. You're noticing a trend. I think the best support characters in this game are the characters with the defensive ults that heal through massive amounts of damage, okay? What I'm noticing in most of my games is that people are running triple defensive ults, or maybe they run double defensive with a Loki and they copy a defensive, whatever. And so you actually see this S tier comp a lot. You see Cloak, you see Luna, and you see Invisible Woman, and you basically never die because you always have a defensive ult up. It's kind of fundamentally broken in this game. It's the main reason I think triple support is popping off right now, and I just don't see it changing anytime soon. Penny Parker is pretty terrible. She's a pretty niche character, and like I've said at the start of this video, a lot of these characters are good in niche situations with players that are really good at these characters, but in general, I think Penny is just a lot weaker than the other tanks in this game. I think I want to put her at C. Penny is a good secondary tank, particularly defensively on points. She can, you know, hold down a lot of space and do area denial with her nest. But once the nest breaks, she's kind of just bad. And in fact, I think the best part of her kit is her stun. She can like wrap people up in a web. But again, there's just I find it hard to pick her over pretty much any of the top tier tanks in the game. So for that reason alone, she's just C tier, you know. Magneto right now is very, very strong. I don't think I can quite put him S tier because he's so immobile and he doesn't really have like the kill potential that I would want out of an S tier tank. I'll put him in A tier. I think, I mean, he obviously has a fantastic shield, but I think his bubble is really valuable as a tank, especially when we get to the duelist heroes. We'll kind of talk about Wolverine a little bit, but he's like the primary counter to Wolverine. I also think he's very valuable because his ult kind of counters Cloak ult. I find that people use his ult to kill Cloak out of her ult. 9 times out of 10, that's how people are playing it. So Thor's a good one. Thor, I feel like I'm seeing a lot of really good Thor players have really big impact, but I don't know if he's definitely not S tier. I don't know if I want to put him in A tier. I'll put him in B tier. Here's the thing right now. I think a lot of the dive tanks are going to be lower tier in this game right now because of triple support meta. It's really hard to dive a support and get a kill. Thor's kit is pretty good at moving people around and kind of making space for your team, but he doesn't really have that much solo kill potential, and his kit doesn't really help his team much other than taking space. Bruce Banner is interesting because Bruce Banner is like perma-ban, but he's actually perma-ban not because of his own kit. He's perma-banned because of his team up with Iron Man, making Iron Man so strong. I think I will also put Hulk at B tier. If we're looking at these heroes through the lens of their kits as individual heroes, as opposed to looking at their team ups, I think your opinion on a lot of these heroes has to change. Look, he's great at creating space. He's a really great dive tank, but he doesn't have massive kill potential, and he doesn't have that much utility for his team other than making space. If you don't have an Iron Man player on your team, you pretty much shouldn't play Hulk. With that being said, if you have an Iron Man player and Hulk's not banned, playing Hulk Iron Man is like a super strong combo right now. even so, after the nerfs, so he could definitely be A tier if you have that combo. But I think by himself he's more of a B tier. I think I'm gonna put Venom in B tier. Probably noticing a trend with the dive tanks. Venom has a lot better lethality than these two characters, I think, by himself if he's solo diving somebody. He has crazy livability, maybe the best space creation out of all the Vanguards. But his ult kind of just doesn't do anything. Like, I don't know. I played this game for like 300 hours. I don't know if I've ever seen Venom get a kill with his ult. I mean, it's just... He got buffed this season, and I just still feel like he doesn't really do that much in most team fights. He just flies around. He's really easy to stun. He has a huge body. Again, if you're not pairing him with a Penny and a Spider-Man, I just feel like he's not that good on his own in a meta where a lot of times you're running solo tank. B tier, I guess. Captain America is a character that I hate with a burning passion, but I can't quite put him D tier. I think Cap is a C tier hero. Again, I've seen, like with all these other heroes, I've seen crazy Captain America like players take over lobbies, go 30-0. Like, Captain America is a cosmetic hero. Okay, he doesn't really do anything. In fact, as a support player, I pretty much don't even look at Captain America. Like, when he jumps on the backline, I don't even look at him. That's how non-lethal he is. I can hear him coming from a mile away. I can watch him flying around the map. I can hear his little freaking power boots stomping upstairs, and I know he's coming for me. I don't even look for him. Sometimes I'll use my stun on him if I have a stun or a sleep, but I pretty much just ignore him. He's totally cosmetic. The best thing Captain America really does in the current meta, in the current build of the game, he's really good at like stalling objectives. So if you're playing like a cart, he can just like stall cart for a massive amount of time, which is valuable in a sense, but in a team fight, he just is doing air. Doctor Strange is the first and the only S tier Vanguard hero. This character is so strong. Not only does he have a great shield, he's got great mobility to get out of problems, get out of situations. If he gets walled off, if he gets stunned, he can fly up in the air and kind of live. He does great damage. He's great solo kill potential. You pretty much never want to have to 1v1 a Doctor Strange because he can definitely kill you. But most importantly, the reason why Doctor Strange is S tier is his ultimate is like a team fight winning ultimate. If you play it correctly, every single time Doctor Strange has ult, you should win the team fight. I'm going to do something crazy. I'm putting Groot in A tier. Here's the thing. Groot gets countered by Wolverine pretty hard. So there's a bit of an asterisk, but I actually think Groot is a fantastic tank. A fantastic Vanguard. Okay, Groot soaks so much damage. He has this massive health pool. He puts up all these walls. He's got this massive hitbox. Just on that merit alone, just on being a big body with walls, I would put Groot in probably B tier. But the thing that makes him A tier to me is his ultimate. His ultimate, again, is like a team fight winning, like team wipe ultimate. If you get a good Groot ult off, you pretty much should win the fight. So as long as it doesn't get blocked by Magneto shield or you don't get stunned out of it, like a good Groot ult wins you a team fight. I think he's a little bit underrated because of the current Wolverine meta and because of his gigantic hitbox being sort of an ult battery. I just think his team fight win potential with his ult is just too high to rank him lower. He's got to be A tier. I don't know where to put these two characters anymore, man. I gotta put Hawkeye sort of in the B range. I think Hawkeye is more of a B tier character. He does do a lot of damage, particularly if he fully charges his shots. I mean, he does do a massive amount of damage. He can do a ton of chunk damage. They did reduce his damage and nerf him a little bit this season. He was much harder to play into last season, but this season I think he's more of a B tier. Hela used to be S tier. Used to be a no-brainer pick and a permaban. She's still often banned, but I think Hela is probably more of an A tier character now. She still does a ton of damage even after the nerfs. You know, her and Hawkeye, they still have their 15% seasonal buff for some reason. She still does a massive amount of damage. She has a stun. She has good mobility and get out of jail ability with her flight. And her ult is very strong. I mean, her ult, you know, unless it gets strange shielded, like her ult can definitely win team fights. You know, get 2-3 kills if she uses it at the right time. She's definitely an A tier character. Iron Fist to me is a D tier character. Iron Fist is not very good. Iron Fist, as a support player, I feel like Iron Fist is pretty lethal. I'm usually frustrated when Iron Fist is coming at me in the back line. But if you can stun him or sleep him, I mean, you live, you get away, and he pretty much does nothing for his team. As high skill as he can be and as rewarding as he can be in the right hands, I feel like he just doesn't do anything most of the time. I'm going to put Iron Man in B tier, although if he's paired with Hulk, he is certainly A tier, if not S tier. He does so much damage. Main issue with Iron Man is he flies around in the sky. So if you have a good hit scan player, someone on Hela, for example, he's pretty easy to kill. But he does a massive amount of damage if he's paired with Hulk. If he's not paired with Hulk, he's just kind of an annoying character. Magic is a hard one. I think Magic is also a B tier character. I see Magic's like farming in ranked. I feel like a lot of the Magic players that I run into, they get a ton of kills. I mean, their ults, like they do have team fight capability, win capabilities with their ults. But it's not a character that does much for its team. You know, you're not poking, you're not breaking walls, you're not breaking shields. You're pretty much just going in, doing damage, and getting out. You spend a lot of time doing setup. I just feel like it's more of a B tier character. Moon Knight got a bit of a buff this season, so Moon Knight is definitely stronger. His ult is very strong now, and he is a very annoying character to play against. I don't think he's quite S tier. I do think he's A tier, though. I'm seeing Moon Knight in like 90% of my games, and his ult will kill you through defensive ults. So that's the main reason he's very powerful, because we're in a very defensive ult heavy meta where you have Luna ult, Mantis ult, Cloak ult, Invisible Woman ult, whatever. And none of those save you through Moon Knight ult, not really. So as long as you can set up a good Moon Knight ult, you pretty much have team wipe potential, and you should always win the team fight. I think if he doesn't have ult, he's just a little bit of a nuisance. He doesn't really have, like, he doesn't win a lot of 1v1s. He just kind of, like, takes angles and does a lot of poke damage, but his ult will win almost every single team fight. Oh, this might be an unpopular opinion. I actually think Namor is an S tier character. I think Namor is in almost every game that I play now, partially because Luna is so strong and their team up is strong together, but he is the best counter dive character in the game with his squids. He does a massive amount of damage without trying very hard, and his ult kills through support ults, so his ult is just very valuable, can win a team fight if you pair it with a Groot or with a Strange or something like that, some sort of stun ability. I think Namor is S tier right now. He's on the edge of A tier, but I'm seeing him in pretty much every game, and I think it's mostly because he's just a counter dive character. He protects the back line. He pretty much prevents you from playing like any dive heroes. He's just really, really, really strong right now, especially with the Luna team up. Black Panther. Black Panther got a bit of a nerf this season. I'm going to be honest. Black Panther is a C tier character. I hate playing into them personally, but when I look at a team perspective, Black Panther doesn't really do anything for his team. He's like a one and done character. He spends most of his time setting up his combos, and if he doesn't get a kill with his combo, like, he's just resetting and leaving the team fight. So he doesn't do any poke. He doesn't really have, like, his ult is not team wipe capable. I just feel like he doesn't have that much utility for his team, and I'm not really seeing Black Panthers have a lot of success other than really, really good Black Panther players that can set up on the backline and kill a support with a one-shot. In the current meta with the triple supports being so frequent, you just don't really see dive characters like this getting a lot of value. Psylocke. Psylocke used to be S tier, but Psylocke is now, I would consider, A tier. I still think Psylocke is maybe the best DPS character in the game in terms of individual skill expression, but with the Namor counter dive and the triple support ults, she doesn't get as much value as she did in Season 0. You know, her ult pretty much gets nothing if there is a defensive support ult, so that's the reason why she's A tier. If there weren't so many defensive ults being so strong in the game and all these games I'm playing, she might be S tier, but she's definitely a solid A tier character right now. Black Widow is D tier. Not really much to say. They should probably make her headshot one shots. I mean, I rarely play into Black Widows, and when I do, they pretty much do air. She did get buffed this season, but I still feel like she's not very strong. There's really no reason to pick her over some of the other DPS characters in the game. Punisher's honestly B tier. I think if he's paired up with Rocket Raccoon, he has the infinite ammo. He's more of an A tier character. He does a massive amount of damage. Even without the Rocket Raccoon ammo, he does a massive amount of damage. But he, you know, he's pretty stationary. He's pretty slow, and his ult is really easy to kite or to kill. So, he, you know, in high level games, I feel like he just dies a lot, and a lot of the damage he's doing is sort of superficial. Scarlet Witch. Scarlet Witch is D tier. I'm gonna put Scarlet Witch in D tier. I don't know if I've ever died to a Scarlet Witch. Ever. I don't know if I have, honestly. You know, she got buffed this season. I still think she's pretty weak. Her primary fire is pretty easy to not die to. I think it's really easy to kill her out of her ultimates compared to some of the other duelist heroes. I feel like most of the time when I see a Scarlet Witch ult, she just gets burnt out of the sky. She pretty much never gets it off. So I think she's got to be D tier. There's just way better options to do way more damage. Spider-Man. Spider-Man's an interesting hero in this game. As a support player, I feel like it's the hardest character to kill. He's got this super small hitbox, super fast, just flies around like crazy. But I do think Spider-Man's a C tier hero. Really good 1v1 potential on Spider-Man. I've seen some Spider-Man do like crazy stuff with their abilities and take people off the map and do really wild high skill stuff. But in general, particularly with the triple support alts and the Namor being so meta, I just feel like Spider-Man generally doesn't get any value. And more often than not, Spider-Man just dies first as soon as he goes in. I think Squirrel Girl is sort of a C tier character. Maybe on the verge of B tier. Maybe people don't know how to play her, but she does a lot of damage, sort of similar to Punisher. She does like a lot of damage, but she does what I would consider junk damage. Where she's just doing a lot of spam around corners and doing a lot of chip damage to people that's easily healed up. And she actually is probably doing more for the enemy team just by giving them support ult charge, especially in the triple support meta. I just don't feel like Squirrel Girls are really doing a lot of outplaying. They don't really have like a lot of livability either. Her ult is definitely a lot better this season. She used to be like a D tier character, but her ult is better this season. It gets more kills with the homing, but it's a lot easier to break. So in high tier lobbies, I just see it getting broken most of the time. Star-Lord. Star-Lord's super good character. Used to be S tier. Similar to Psylocke, I'm going to put him on A tier. I would argue Star-Lord probably has the highest skill expression of all the characters in the game. And he does a massive amount of damage. His ult has team-wide potential, but in the current meta with triple supports or even just double support ults, all the defensive support ults make his ult pretty much useless if people are playing their ults correctly. So I'll give him A tier for now. I think I'll put Storm in S tier. Storm is... It's so wild, actually, how strong Storm is. Do I put her in S tier? Let me think. Let me drink more caffeine and think about this. I think I'm going to put Storm in A tier. Storm is super, super strong right now. Storm is almost perma-banned. She got her damage buffed a lot Season 1. She used to be like the least picked character in the game, but now she's almost in every game if she's not perma-banned. She does a lot of damage, a lot of chip damage. Her ults has pretty good kill potential. It's hard to... If it weren't for all the support ults in the game, all the defensive ults in the game, she'd probably be an S tier character, but usually you can use a defensive ult to counter hers. I think Storm is really, really good. She's borderline S tier, frankly, but I'm going to leave her in A tier for now, just because you can counter her ult pretty easily. You know when it's coming. It's got a long cast time. I think she's A tier for now, despite being banned all the time. I think Bucky is another A tier character. Excuse me, Winter Soldier is another A tier character. In high tier lobbies, I feel like Bucky kind of carries team fights. He has crazy multi-kill potential. He has really, really good team utility potential. He's almost an S tier character. You know, he can pull people around the map. You know, so his stun and his pull is like super good. Super valuable in a team fight sense, but I mean, he can basically carry lobbies, and he frequently does. He does massive amount of damage, even having only 3 bullets. I think Bucky is super, super strong. Borderline S tier character. The buff that he got in season 1 almost makes him S tier. I mean, he's really, really strong right now. I think Wolverine is an A tier character. He is the tank buster in this game. Wolverine is single-handedly changing the meta to be solo tank. I'm playing with solo tank like almost all the time because if you have 2 tanks, it just increases the chances that Wolverine's going to kidnap one of your tanks and kill him. Wolverine is super, super strong into tank heavy comps, particularly into frontline heavy comps. If he kidnaps your tank is as good as dead. I mean, he is really, really strong right now. Massive amounts of damage, and his ult has team wipe capabilities all over it. The last character that I'll put on this list, because obviously we don't have Flame Boy and we don't have Rock Boy. We have Mr. Fantastic. I think Mr. Fantastic is a solid C tier character. I have yet to see Mr. Fantastic find a place in the meta in the first week of him being out. I have seen some players do really well on Mr. Fantastic, some do not so well. He's sort of a mid-range melee character. I think he's pretty solid as sort of a second pseudo tank, like he frontlines with the solo tank, and he can definitely find some value in the meta that way, especially into Wolverine. But my main issue with him is that his ultimate really does not have team wipe capabilities. Usually when he ults, it's super, super easy to kite it, to heal through it. I feel like his ult does nothing. He just jumps around. So I think I'm happy with that list, dude. This is about how I feel about the heroes. This is the quintessential list. Thoughts? Do you guys have any thoughts on this? I spent way more time doing this than I thought.